Y'all, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. What is up, awesome people of the internet? Let's get into the amazing week that was, starting off with a whirlwind of upsets. Because, let's get real, guys, who does not love a good upset? I mean, I know I do, so let's get into it. So we begin with LSU losing to unranked Auburn 67-62. Yep, you heard me right. The champs went down, and it was all about the game plan that Auburn had, which was, their game plan was to play hard-nosed defense. It was to make LSU uncomfortable without fouling. It was to fight for 50-50 balls, eat up the shot clock to limit LSU's possessions down the stretch, and let your two upperclassmen, Honesty Scott Grayson and Jemiah Mingo Young, get to work. And that was basically the game plan. And Auburn worked it to perfection. Yes, Auburn made mistakes in this game, but overall it was their hustle that got them a 10-point lead in the first half and ultimately won them the game.
I just thought my team came out and fought. I think they have been right there. Other than the third quarter in the Texas A&M game, I feel like we've been right there. And they prepared well. They played hard. We had a really good scouting report. They executed it. The thing that we told them was, you got to come out and you got to be tough. You got to fight. You got to, we can't get on our heels. We got to get them on their heels. And I think we came out and did that. So I'm just really, really proud of our team. I'm proud for them to be able to play in front of a crowd like this. And I'm happy that this crowd was able to see them play, because hopefully they see what they're missing. And that they are missing piece. Like when you have a crowd like that, when we were making a run, like it was so loud in here, and you could tell that these people were behind us. And this was our family weekend, and that's what family is all about, getting behind them. And so just for them to see that and to feel that and to feed off of that was just an amazing experience.
And oh, by the way, this game was personal for Honesty because her freshman year, she played for Kim Mulkey.
What does this win mean for you personally? This is something that'll never be taken away from you. A feather in your cap. What does it mean for you?
It was super personal for me. Coach Mulkey, I played for her my freshman year. Things didn't go well. I don't want to get too much into that, but I've been waiting for this moment, and it came. And so I'm embracing it. And I'm proud of myself, honestly. So I've came a long way.
Now for LSU, it felt like the only player who was really locked in from the jump was Angel Reese. Everyone seemed to sort of struggle and have an off day. The game was probably the first time we saw Michaela Williams really play like a freshman. She struggled overall. She struggled to find her shot, and she just struggled to get going. Haley Van Lith also struggled to run the point for the team, and her shot was off as well. Anissa Morrow, while she did finish with the double-double, she was largely a non-factor, especially late in the game. The play that really cost LSU the game was this one. LSU was down by 2, and instead of calling the timeout and drawing up a play, LSU ran an ISO for Angel, and she tried to get to the basket, and Jemiah Mingo Young was there, got the steal, and the ball game was over. Now, I would say I get why LSU ran that ISO, because Angel was the only real player that was cooking that night. But Auburn knew her moves, and as a player who does not have a consistent jump shot, Angel Reese had only one option on that play: get to the bucket. And the basket was clogged. And Jemiah Mingo Young knew exactly what Angel was going to do, and she took the ball, and that was it.
Well, I wasn't getting anything out of every other thing we tried to do for 40 minutes or 38 minutes and 50 seconds. And she's a returning All-American, and I thought, let's just do a 1-4 flat. Confidence, trust. I let Angel bring the ball up the floor, and I just thought we were struggling, trying to make a pass to the wing down to her. So what the heck? Just do a 1-4 flat and let's see. And talked about that with the team afterwards too. I should never have to do things like that. You know, I should be able to do what we normally do, but during the course of trying to win a game, sometimes you think outside of the box. Or not win a game, at that time it was to tie it.
You guys are up by 2. They clear out, go ISO with Angel Reese, and then you come up with the steal. Jemiah comes up with the steal late. Just walk me through that play and just the defensive effort there to get.
So we guarded that play all week, and we knew Savannah Carter had this scout, and she told us every action Angel make, and so we knew the way she caught the ball and what she was gonna do. We knew that she was going to drive it in that situation. So Mingo helped in. Once she put it down, we knew she was going. She was going to score. She wasn't going to pass it. So Mingo helped in and got the steal. Like I said, they were prepared for that. We worked on it all week, or the last 3 days.
What was your perspective of when Jemiah got the steal from Angel? That play, that setup, were y'all expecting it, and what did you see?
I don't even know. Once I saw her get her hands on the ball, I was coming from baseline. So when I seen her get her hands on the ball, I was like, oh yeah, she got that one. And once Reese fouled her, I just ran up to her and started punching her. But yeah, it was amazing.
Can you walk us through kind of your perspective on that steal when you decided to come over and get the rip on Angel?
Yeah, I was just looking at it, but my player was just standing on the block, and I knew she wasn't about to post me up. She was kind of just in the way, and I knew I had a clean shot at the ball, so I just went for it.
So guys, I am curious about what your thoughts are about this game. Let me know about it in the comments below. All right, we move on to continue to talk about Sunday upsets, which included USC redeeming themselves and getting the W over UCLA 73-65. Now, the reason I say redeeming is because we saw USC lose to UCLA a couple weeks ago at UCLA. Now, USC was at home, and they showed out, y'all.
What were the learning lessons from the first matchup against UCLA?
Our first time around, we hadn't faced a team with that much intensity and just a great team overall. We hadn't faced that yet. And for us to get the first taste of it and get our feel of the game so that next time around we're uber prepared and ready for everything thrown at us.
Now, before we get into this game, it was UCLA and South Carolina as the lone undefeated teams. And that's no longer the case because there was a freshman named JuJu who had something to say about it. Because JuJu Watkins scored 32 points in this game, and while she didn't have the most efficient game, she did get herself to the line. It was sort of like Angel Reese-esque, where she just knew what she needed to do to get the foul called and be able to get to the line. And for USC, it was all about defense. In a similar way to Auburn, it was making the game tough for UCLA to score without fouling.
I told these guys in the locker room, this is overwhelming, incredibly fun and meaningful, but I'm kind of a crier. I had no tears because I felt like this was going to happen, and it's a ton of respect for UCLA. They are completely deserving of everything where they are, right? Like, they're a national championship contender. They're a tremendous matchup problem for everyone. They're well coached and tough kids, but I felt like our preparation this time and our mentality was one that was going to give us a chance to win the game. And then our players came out and were unbelievable in that environment. I'm blown away. We have winners. We have incredible people. It took a while, for us to get this win since I've been here, but it's really meaningful for our program. It's not the last good thing that will happen, but we're going to appreciate this day for what it means for women's basketball in Southern California and for the USC Trojans.
And this really was a tough assignment for the Trojans because Raya Marshall was out due to illness, and all season, Raya Marshall has been their #1 post player for USC. And because Raya Marshall was out, USC needed junior Clarice Akunwafo to step up. And she did just that. This girl played a season high of 31 minutes, which is a whole lot considering she usually plays around 10 minutes a game. And while USC had a big scoring game by JuJu and Forbes, I truly believe that Akunwafo was the player of this game. And the reason why is because this girl stepped up. She stepped up and defended her butt off, helping to severely limit UCLA's post-play production on offense. Lauren Betts, yes, she was sick, but overall, she only had 10 points in this game. Dugalich and Suntag also only had 2 points in this game. Now, while JuJu Watkins deserves a bunch of shine because of her amazing performance, Akunwafo, she played very well. And she played better than the stat sheet shows. So in 31 minutes, she contributed 5 points and 7 rebounds, which in general, maybe you say, okay, well, what's the big deal? But you just had to kind of watch the game and sort of saw how she was playing, especially on defense, and showing herself not to be a liability on offense that just made it very, very, very special. And even more special considering the fact that she doesn't play that much. And she had to be Raya Marshall for yesterday's game, and she really did a good job. So shout out to Akunwafo for like really, really showing up and stepping up in that game. Now, specifically to UCLA, they didn't just have it yesterday. They didn't have it. Lauren Betts played in the game, but she started the game off the bench. And overall, she wasn't totally her normal self due to illness. Sure, she was efficient from the field, going 4 or 5, but you could tell that she was a little bit off. For the rest of UCLA, outside of Charisma Osborne and Waquez, who showed up with some huge threes for this game, the team was really off.
I think that whenever you're a competitor, you want to make sure that you control the things under your control. And the reality is we didn't. And, you know, that it doesn't take away that I liked their response, but, you know, if you're going to be a top team in the country and you're going to have aspirations like we do, you can't show up and have 20 minutes where the other team is tougher and more together and do what the coach has said. Tasha Brown and Sam Skinner did a phenomenal job, and we sold them out. Got to take responsibility for that. Ultimately, I'm responsible. I got to hold the mirror up and go, how do I get a different response? But I sure as heck better not have anybody talking to me about playing time or whatever else, because there's not very many people that executed what we asked them to do.
You would think that USC would be the team that's really off because they were actually missing a starter, whereas Lauren Betts came off the bench. She still played in the game. USC was missing a starter, and they managed to down the then number 2 team in the country, which is huge. Now, if you're wondering what this means for UCLA, I don't think this means a whole lot. UCLA is still a very, very good team that didn't show up. They didn't show up fully prepared, and they got. You know, that's what happens when you don't show up ready to go. It happens, and in the long run, I think all the teams that got upset this week, it will probably be better for them to have gotten the upset because they're gonna work hard and try to be better next time, and they won't sleep on teams. Not that USC is a team that you should sleep on, but it was clear that UCLA from the jump, they just weren't ready to go. They just weren't. And USC battled it out and got some points on the board and got the W.
I mean, obviously we weren't prepared, but even like Coach G said in the locker room before, like, if we were to just roll the ball out of the park, like, it's hoopers versus hoopers, and we should feel confident in that because we have ballers on our team. And I think we stepped out today and we're like, we're going to be the aggressors. We're going to be the ones causing turnovers. We're going to be the ones getting and ones and you know, hyping up the crowd. Obviously, home court, like, helps with that. But I just think as a team, I felt like we felt more prepared for the moment. And I think we felt more together. I think our huddles were more together. I thought JuJu was leading today in a way that I haven't seen her, not that she doesn't, but like that more than I've seen her all year. And truly, like, when she's telling us, like, come on, let's go, make your free throws, we're getting this win. I mean, like, how do you not follow that lead, right? So I think I just saw a lot of people step up in areas that maybe it didn't happen in the 2 weeks, but it's been happening this whole time, and you saw it show today.
Now, a fun thing to note is that the Cali Stars were in the building yesterday for that game. And of course, we had a USC legend, Cheryl Miller, in the building. Candace Parker was there as well, along with some non-basketball celebs. And I do want to shout out the LA Sparks in this game. I want to shout them out because they understood the assignment.
Hey y'all, we are here at the UCLA and USC women's basketball game. Come say hi to us and get an autograph. Perfect.
They understood that this USC-UCLA game was going to be a huge promotional opportunity for their team, so they engaged. Saya Cook and Lexi Brown was in attendance at that game, and they had a time where they were signing autographs, and they were visibly shown throughout the game. And it was a very smart move for the LA Sparks, because this is something that all W teams should be doing. Using the college game to gain more awareness to your team and hopefully drive some ticket sales. There were over 10,000 fans in attendance at this USC UCLA game. It's a great opportunity to get some of those people to attend a LA Sparks game and to, at least get more fans, basically. The WNBA in general, in some of these bigger markets, they're not getting as many fans as 10,000. And so this is an opportunity for W teams. And if W teams are smart, in the different markets when big time games come about, they should be there. They should be there. They should be in attendance, and they should be using the opportunity to drive sales for W games and also just build more awareness about some of the players that play in the W. So shout out to the LA Sparks for that. All right, so moving on to the third upset of Sunday, Florida State took down Virginia Tech 89-81. And if you're wondering why Virginia Tech lost, well, it was because they had a very slow start to the game, getting outscored by 8 in the first half. Yes, they did come back in this game off the back of Elizabeth Kitley, who just did her thing with 30 points and 12 rebounds, but Georgia Amore largely struggled in this game, and that's what cost them, because Georgia just couldn't get it going from the three-point line. Virginia Tech did not have enough to withstand the firepower of Florida State. And for Florida State, I got 4 words for you: Sara Bejedi and Taniyah Latson. Now, technically that's 5, but maybe you don't count and, who knows. These two ladies balled out yesterday. For sophomore Taniyah Latson, it's pretty much expected for her to score 20 points a game. She has really been doing it all season. And the thing about her that I really like is that she can just get to her spots on the court and she can score. And not only can this girl, get some shots up, she can also find a way to get to the foul line. She's one of those players who can get foul calls, and get to the line and make some buckets that way. While she wasn't super efficient from the field yesterday, she did what she needed to do to get her team the dub, and that was getting her teammates involved by passing it. She had 8 assists in that game yesterday. Now, for Florida State, in terms of scoring, it was all about Sara Bejedi, who just went off yesterday. She had 31 points. Yeah, 31 points, and it really started with her from the three-point line. She had some Caitlin Clark-esque three-point shots, and she was the difference for Florida State. Florida State has been really hot and cold this season, but if they can consistently get big numbers from Sara Bejedi every single game, y'all better watch out, because Florida State is coming. No, Sara does not have to score 30 points a game, but if you can have Taniyah Latson and Sara Bejedi getting you 20 points a game, both, Florida State's going to be very dangerous. And finally, for upsets, I want to talk about Iowa State taking down Baylor 66-63. And how the mighty have fallen. Baylor was once 14-0 on the season and have now lost 2 of their last games to unranked teams. First, they lost to Kansas last Wednesday, and on Saturday, they lost to Iowa State. Now, y'all, I will say this. Y'all need to be paying attention to Iowa State, because they are a team that has so much potential, especially as they get older. They have 3 freshmen starting, and they all can ball. In Saturday's game in particular, Iowa State was led by freshman Audie Crooks, who efficiently scored 23 points, and a senior Hannah Bellinger, who added 15 points as well. Baylor is a good team, but they need more offensive production from other players. Dre Edwards is a great player for this team. She really is. However, Baylor cannot expect to meaningfully win a lot of games, especially in conference play, if Dre Edwards is their leading scorer. They need more from others in order to actually be able to compete in conference play. We will see how Baylor responds. One thing to note is that Baylor actually plays K-State on January the 22nd. So we'll see what changes Coach Nikki Collins will make in that game to prepare Baylor for possibly a dub. If not, they will have lost 3 games in a row. Okay, so those are the overall upsets from this past week. Now to get you caught up on the rest of the games. Norfolk State is continuing their winning ways, beating North Central State 81-60. Diamond Johnson had a double-double in this game with 15 points and 10 rebounds. And Kiara Wheeler had a double-double as well with 17 points and 14 rebounds. Fun fact to know is that Wheeler is actually averaging a double-double on the season so far. The Spartans are in first place in the MEAC with a record of 12-4. Michigan State finished last week 1-1, beating Maryland 74-69 and losing to Ohio State in a nail-biter game 70-65. Michigan State hung in there, but they just didn't have enough gas to pull it out in the fourth quarter of that Ohio State game. JC Sheldon continues to be a huge spark for Ohio State, finishing with 18 points in the game. Ohio State is now 13-3 on the season and are sitting at third place in the Big Ten. Marquette finished this week off 2-0, beating both Seton Hall 75-54 and DePaul 78-47. They're now 15-2 on the season and are third in the Big East. TCU had a rough week last week, going 0-2, losing to Texas 72-60 and losing to Houston 77-66. Now, if you're wondering why is TCU suddenly losing, well, a likely reason for TCU's struggles is the fact that Sedona Prince, their starting center, is out with a broken finger. Sedona was sidelined indefinitely after TCU's game against Baylor on January the 5th, and Sedona broke her finger in the first play of that game, which was very, very rough. She will be out for a while, but she has hopes to return by the end of the regular season, just in time for tournament play. And for TCU, not having Sedona, that's a huge loss because she has been averaging a double-double so far this season with 21 points and 10 rebounds. It's going to take TCU a while to sort of figure out how to win without their best player. TCU is currently 14-4 on the season and in 11th place in the Big 12. Now onto another Big 12 team, Kansas State, who are continuing their winning ways with a win against Oklahoma, 74-57, and a huge win as well over Texas, 61-58. And of course, K-State was led by Ayoka Lee, who had a double-double, scoring 21 points and 12 rebounds in that game against Texas. And for K-State, that Texas game was all about defense. If K-State continues to keep this up, they just might win the Big 12. As it stands, K-State is 17-1 on the season and in first place in the Big 12. UNLV defeated both San Jose State 91-55 and Air Force 76-64 and are now 14-1 on the season and first in the Mountain West. UConn has been very, very good as of late. Last week they beat Providence 85-41 and St. John's 92-49. Now, even with all of the injuries that Gino and company have had, they are still finding ways to win ball games. But I have to say a huge shout out to the UConn freshmen who are showing up and being ready to play for UConn. UConn is now 14-3 on the season and are in first place in the Big East. NC State had one game last week, beating Virginia 93-66. They're now 15-1 on the season and are in sixth place in the ACC. Jeff Walls and the Louisville Cardinals are continuing their to get wins on the season. Last week, they beat Pitt 74-44, and they beat Wake Forest 83-62. The Cardinals are now 15-2 and are quietly in first place in the ACC. Now, the reason I say quietly is because it feels like there it hasn't been that much attention spent towards Louisville this year, but they're slowly but surely just continuing to win games, and by the time we hit real tournament play, the Cardinals are really gonna hit their stride and really be in the spotlight a lot more, especially because they're number one in the ACC right now, and it seems like it'll probably continue. The Zags are continuing to do their thing. Last week they beat Santa Clara 87-49, and they also beat San Diego 85-67. And for Gonzaga, it really is about their 4 seniors. You have Yvonne Ejim, you have Eliza Hollingsworth, and you have the twins, Kaylee and Kaylin Trong. All 4 of them have been balling this year, and it really is fun to see Gonzaga start to get some serious recognition this year. The Bulldogs are 16-2 on the season and are in first place in the WCC. Hannah Hidalgo and the Fighting Irish are back in the win column, beating Boston College 98-48, and also they beat Miami 70-59. They are now 12-3 on the season and are in 7th place in the ACC. Now, how about them Buffaloes, man? Them Colorado Buffaloes continue to dominate the Pac-12. Last week, beating Cal 76-61, and they also beat Stanford 71-59. The Buffaloes just look really good with their big 3 of Frida Foreman, Jalen Sherrod, and Aronette Von Lay. Now, I am very much excited to see Colorado in their next 2 games because I think it's going to be a real test for them in terms of conference play. They play UCLA on January the 19th, and they play USC on January the 21st. So those are games that you really want to watch out for. Both of those games are on the Pac-12 network. So if you don't have the Pac-12 network, maybe you can watch it after the fact on YouTube. As of right now, Colorado is 15-1 on the season and are in first place in the Pac-12. Now, staying in the Pac-12, Utah lost to Stanford 66-64, and they beat Cal 93-56. The Utes are now 12-5 on the season and are in 6th place in the Pac-12. Now, moving on to SEC, South Carolina had 1 game last week, beating Mizzou 81-57, and at the moment they are the lone undefeated team at 15-0 on the season and are sitting in first place in the SEC. And at the time of recording, they have a game tonight versus Kentucky where it's likely that they will win again. And South Carolina, they're the lone ones on top. They are the lone undefeated team in the country. And we finish up our recap talking about Iowa, who continues their winning ways, defeating both Purdue 96-71 and Indiana 84-57. Now, I really like the way that Iowa has sort of turned the gear this season, because we are consistently seeing everybody not named Caitlin Clark step up in the last several games. Sure, Caitlin Clark is the engine that keeps this Iowa team running. She is leading the country in points right now, averaging 30.9 points a game, but we are starting to see others step up consistently, which is super important for the longevity of this Iowa team. Gabby Marshall was super cold to start the season, but she's back, y'all, and has finished the last 3 games with 12 points in each of the last 3 games, going about around 50% from the 3-point line. Now, that is exactly what Iowa needs from her, and that's what she did last year, sort of towards the end of the season. And we also have Kate Martin, who really has been Caitlin's right-hand man of late, especially because Kate Martin does all of the sort of little things. She battles with 50-50 balls, she crashes the boards, and she knows how to get to her spots and score some points if she needs to. And finally, we have Molly Davis. Molly Davis, for the first time since joining Iowa, has had what I would consider a breakout game. In that game against Indiana, we saw Molly Davis have 18 points in that game, going 70% from the field. It was sort of like the Central Michigan version of Molly Davis, because when she was at Central Michigan, she was scoring a bunch of points. And maybe now she's starting to see that with Iowa. And I think this is huge for Iowa because Molly Davis showing up and showing out really does lighten the load for Caitlin Clark a little bit. And let's not forget, when we're talking about Iowa, let's not forget to talk about the lady in the middle, Hannah Stuelke, who has been consistently improving. Yes, she is not Monica Czinano, but she is a bona fide player in her own right, and she's been showing up for this team. Yes, Iowa has been a great team all year, but in the last couple games, especially that Indiana game, they look more and more like a very dangerous team that might make it as far as they did last season. Now, my question to you guys is, have you seen a difference in Iowa's play in the last 3 or 4 games? How far do you think Iowa will make it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you have any thoughts about the other games that I talked about in that recap, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, guys, we are moving on to the top 25 for week 11, y'all, because it's polls I do adore. Y'all, we about to get into this this poll talk because there's been some changes when it comes to the AP poll, the AP top 25 poll. Now, it makes sense that South Carolina was the unanimous #1 pick for the top 25, of course, because they're the lone undefeated team. So that makes a lot of sense. We have Iowa that moved up to #2. There was some talk about whether or not Iowa was going to move up to #2 and whether or not they deserve it. I think they deserve it. I think they deserve being that #2 spot. They did move up 1 from last week. Last week they were #3, so moved up from 3 to 2. Colorado moved up 2 spots as well to #3. NC State moved up as well. And the reason why all those teams moved up is because UCLA moved down. So UCLA is now in 5th place in the top 25. Now, I would say I could have had UCLA or USC in that fifth place spot. USC is in 6th place, followed by K-State, Stanford, UConn, and LSU, rounding out the top 10. Now, UConn, to me, that jump that they made was very, very well deserved. UConn has been playing very well as of late, and they're playing well without having a lot of players. Like this UConn team is very beleaguered in terms of injuries, and they're still finding a way to win. So shout out to UConn for doing that, because they're looking pretty good. LSU, I am actually surprised that they weren't dropped out of the top 10. Like I'm kind of surprised about that. They did move down 3 spots, but in general, I'm kind of surprised. Stanford did not move at all, which makes sense. We have Texas at #11, followed by Baylor, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Indiana, Gonzaga, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Utah. Now, when it comes to Baylor, I would have dropped them down further. Yes, they did drop 8 spots, which is huge, but this is a team that lost their last 2 games, and they look like a different team. This Baylor team looks like a different team than the team that beat Texas, a little bit over a week or so ago. So I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have dropped a little bit further. Louisville is just continuing to be, a team that is somewhat silent and just balling. Louisville in years past has gotten a lot of media attention, primarily because Hailey Van Lith. And now that Hailey Van Lith isn't there, it's like a lot of the attention has gone away from Louisville, but they're working hard. They're #1 in their conference, and they're just balling, y'all. They're balling, and they're just slowly but surely moving up on that list. Gonzaga makes a lot of sense to me. Gonzaga is just fun. They're just a really fun team. Indiana moved down 2 spots, probably in response to that really bad Iowa game they had. Yes, Iowa is ranked #2 now, but that was a terrible loss for Indiana. Utah went down only 1 spot. Not that surprised about that. And in 21, we have Creighton, 22, Marquette, 23, North Carolina, 24. Shout out to Iowa State, who just has cracked the top 25 one more time. Iowa State's a fun team. They really are a fun team. And if y'all haven't been watching Iowa State, they got some really, really good freshmen that y'all need to look out for. So, and we also have UNLV at number 25. All right, guys, that is the list. Other teams that received some votes was Oregon State, West Virginia, Syracuse, Vanderbilt, Princeton, who, yes, watch out for Princeton. Auburn, I'm pretty sure those 5 votes were just in response to Auburn beating LSU, which makes sense. We have Fairfield, who I have not watched a game of Fairfield this year, and Michigan State. West Virginia has dropped from the rankings. All right, guys, that is your top 25. I mean, what are your thoughts? I am not that surprised by any of these moves. I don't hate any of these moves. Like I said, I think Baylor probably could have been a little bit lower. I also think that LSU probably could have been a little bit lower as well. But you know, we'll continue to see movement on this top 25 list as conference play continues, because you know there's quite a lot of movement this week in comparison to the last couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens. But it's safe to say that, you know, this top 3 is very solid. You know, South Carolina number 1, Iowa number 2, Colorado number 3. That feels like a really good top 3. It really does. Like I said earlier, I think that USC could have been number 5. Like I'm waffling between UCLA and USC, but because both of those teams, the only loss they had was to each other. So it's sort of like, okay, well, who do you put over the other? I might give USC the edge only because they beat UCLA without Rhea Marshall, which is huge, absolutely huge. And so, yeah, those are my thoughts about the top 25. I'm curious about what you all think about the top 25. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because, you know, we love us some polls. And right now, this doesn't mean that much, but as we get into later in the month, as we get into February, these polls are going to be so critical as we prepare for March Madness, because it's going to determine some rankings. So let me know your thoughts about where folks are ranked right now in the top 25. Now, on to WNBA news. Tickets for the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game goes on sale on January the 30th. As a reminder, the All-Star Weekend will take place in Phoenix, with the 3-point contest and the skills challenge happening on Friday, July the 19th, and the actual All-Star Game happening on Saturday, July the 20th. And like in years past, the WNBA will also have WNBA Live, their 2-game fan festival, happening as well. Now, my question for you is, are you all planning to go for All-Star Weekend? Let me know in the comments below, because maybe we can do a meetup or something. Now, moving on to some really important W news, which is WNBA free agency. Starting on January the 21st, teams will be allowed to start speaking with players, and players will have the ability to sign deals as early as February the 1st. Now, here is how everything works. There are several definitions that you all need to know about as we get into the free agency period. First are the categories of free agents. We have both restricted and unrestricted free agents. So unrestricted are free agents that, as it says, are unrestricted. That means they can speak to and sign with any team of their choosing. A restricted player is a player with 4 years of service whose contract is expired and who is receiving a qualifying offer from their previous team. Now, restricted free agents can speak and sign with any team that they want. However, they can have an offer matched by their prior team. So they can look for other deals. But if their prior team will accept the deal that they're going to agree with the new team, then they have to stay with the prior team, which hence the term restricted. Now, a player can be designated as a reserve player as well. So reserve players is a player that has been in the league for less than 4 years and their contract expires. Unless their former team releases them, they cannot talked with other teams unless they are released. And finally, teams can decide to core a player, which means that the team has exclusive negotiating rights with the player. And this is even if the player in question was set to be an unrestricted free agent. So if a player is cored, they get fully guaranteed. They get a fully guaranteed 1-year deal with which is the Supermax for whatever that player is eligible for. Now, if you think that is wild, that a team can just core a player even if they're an unrestricted free agent, it's not that unheard of. Many sports leagues do something similar to that. In the NFL, you may know of it as the franchise tag. Okay, now that some of the definitions are out of the way, let's get into what has happened so far. Well, on Thursday and Friday of last week, the Indiana Fever has extended a reserved qualifying offer to Maya Caldwell and Demi Fangbili. The Washington Mystics have extended a reserved qualifying offer to Lee Ming. The Indiana Fever has decided to core Brianna Stewart and also extend a reserved qualifying offer to Maureen Johannes. The Dallas Wings extended a restricted qualifying offer to Satu Sabali. The Minnesota Lynx extended a reserved qualifying offer to Nikolina Milic. And yesterday, on Sunday, the Washington Mystics cored Elena Deladon. Now, I do want to give a huge shout out to Her Hoop Stats for doing some amazing work when it comes to this free agency draft or this free agency period. If you want to know more, I'm going to share as much as I can with you in terms of free agency talk. But if you want to know more, go to Her Hoop Stats and check them out because they are doing some really, really great coverage. Also, shout out to CBS Sports who put together a list of all the free agents that we have so far. And it's a lot of them. So I'm going to go through the list and I'm going to go through them pretty fast because I want to make sure that everybody knows who is a free agent. And I'm going to, I put the list in numbers. So I'm just going to go through the list, going from unrestricted, restricted, reserved, and then suspended by team, basically. All right. So we have Monique Billings with the Atlanta Dream, who is an unrestricted free agent, Nia Coffey, Lorella Kubai, Taylor Mikesell, Danielle Robinson. So for the Atlanta Dream, they have 5 unrestricted free agents. For the Chicago Sky, we have Kalia Hilsman, Alana Smith, Taylor Soule, Courtney Williams. So for the Chicago Sky, we got 4 players. For the Connecticut Sun, we have several players who are unrestricted free agents. We have Rebecca Allen, Christina Nigwe, Dewana Bonner, Lauren Cox, Tiffany Hayes, and Brianna Jones. Though, thing to note is that Tiffany Hayes, while technically she is a unrestricted free agent, she has retired from the WNBA. So shout out to Tiffany Hayes for having an amazing career. For the Dallas Wings, we have Kalani Brown, Jasmine Dickey, Odyssey Sims. So 3 for the Dallas Wings. For the Indiana Fever, we just have 1 player as an unrestricted free agent, Emma Cannon. For the Las Vegas Aces, we have a couple. We have Alana Coates. We have Sydney Colson. We have Candace Parker, Kia Stokes, and Raquana Williams. For the LA Sparks, we have Ray Burrell, Jordan Canada, Kennedy Carter, Lasia Clarendon, Chene Agumake, Nneka Agumake, Carly Samuelson, Katie Lou Samuelson, Jasmine Thomas, Avina Westbrook, and Amanda Zowie B. Yes, that's basically the entire roster. Our undefeated, unrestricted free agents for the LA Sparks. For the Minnesota Lynx, we have Natalie Achanwa, Lindsay Allen, Rachel Banham, Bridget Carlton, Emily Insler, Ariel Powers, Kayana Traylor. So those are the unrestricted free agents. And if you notice, you may notice that some of these players, they were rookies last year. And they were sort of signed late. Like, for example, Kiana Traylor, she barely played last season. But technically, her rights were with the Minnesota Lynx. So because of that, she is an unrestricted free agent with the Minnesota Lynx. For the New York Liberty, we have Stephanie Dolson, Jonquel Jones, and Epiphany Prince. And again, this is unrestricted free agents. For the Phoenix Mercury, we have a lot of players. We have Diamond Shields, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Liz Dixon, Brittany Griner, Megan Gustafson, Destiny Henderson, Ashley Jones, Shea Petty, Jeannie Sims, Sam Thomas, and Kristen Williams. All right, so those are the unrestricted free agents that are in the WNBA as of right now. Now let's move over to restricted free agents. And of course, there's a lot less restricted free agents than there are unrestricted free agents. So for the Atlanta Dream, we have Adi Durr. For the Chicago Sky, we have Ruthie Hebert. For the Dallas Wings, we have Satu Sabally. For the Las Vegas Aces, Kayla George. For the Indiana Fever, we have Jocelyn Willoughby. For the Seattle Storm, we have Joyner Holmes. And for the Seattle Storm, we have Yvonne Turner. For reserved players, we have more. For the Chicago Sky, we have 3 players: Morgan Birch, Rebecca Gardner, and Robin Parks. For the Connecticut Sun, we have Betty Hattar. For the Indiana Fever, we have Maya Caldwell, who has a qualifying extended offer. For the Indiana Fever, we also have Timmy Fang Beely, who also has a qualifying offer extended. For the LA Sparks, we have Kiana Smith. For the Minnesota Lynx, we have Nicolina Milic. For the New York Liberty, we have Maureen Johannes. For the Phoenix Mercury, we have Sug Sutton. And for the Washington Mystics, we have Lee Ming. Now on to the suspended players. We just have 3. For the Chicago Sky, we have Julie Alamon and Astu Dufall. And for the New York Liberty, we have Han Shu. All right, guys, that was a lot of people that I just went through. I just wanted to let everyone know every single person who was a unrestricted free agent, restricted free agent, reserved, and or suspended. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button for this video. That would be really, really awesome if you found it helpful. Now, onto the free agents that I personally am paying attention to. So I'm paying attention to Elena Delle Donne. Yes, as I mentioned, she has been cored by the Mystics. However, I don't think she actually plays for the Mystics. I feel that it's probably them coring her is probably just a way to solidify her money and then include her in some sort of package for a trade. I don't think she returns back to the Mystics, mainly because if you remember, last year there was a chance for the Washington Mystics and Elena Delle Donne to come to a deal to extend her contract. That didn't happen, and it feels like Elena Delle Donne is on her way out. So we'll see where she goes. I feel like she's going to be included in some sort of trade. We know that Elena Delle Donne is very close to her family, so it's likely that she will stay on the East Coast somewhere. So we'll see where she goes. Could it be the Connecticut Sun? Who knows? Question mark. Maybe it's the New York Liberty. Who knows? Basically, I'm just trying to say that I don't think she's going to return to the Mystics, but we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I'm also paying attention to Candace Parker, who technically could retire, or any of these players actually technically could retire, but she could retire, or she could also return for another season with the Las Vegas Aces at the vet minimum. We'll see what happens. But having another year of Candace Parker, I wouldn't be disappointed in that at all. I do want to see also where Skylar Diggins-Smith goes. We all know that she's not going back to Phoenix. And if you watched the video I made last week, we know that she's not going to Indiana as well. So the question is, where will she go? She did indicate on social media that she does like the East Coast. So maybe she's going to go to one of those teams. But we will see. Of course, there's other players to pay attention to as well. But those are the ones that I wanted to particularly highlight. All right, and I also wanted to let you all know about the list that ESPN released. They released their top 15 free agents, and I think overall the list is pretty good. So let's just quickly go over it just so you all know who is on their list. The writer for this was Kevin Pelton. So at number 1, we have Brandon Stewart, Jonquil Jones, Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Brianna Jones, Nneka Ogwumike, Duana Bonner, Satu Sabli, Candace Parker, Alana Deladon, Alana Smith, Courtney Williams, Jordan Canada, Natasha Cloud, and Kalani Brown. All right, guys. Now my question to you guys is, where do you think some of these players will go? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you also appreciated this video, if you can hit that like button, that would be amazing. All right, guys, that is the video for this week's episode of Women's Basketball Weekly. Yes, I know it was short. Well, not really short. This is a very long episode, but I didn't cover the normal overseas update and the history update, mainly because this is a long episode. We had a lot of women's college basketball to talk about, and I wanted to make sure to give that enough time, but also keep this episode as short as I possibly could. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let me know your thoughts about some of the topics that I talked about in the comments below. If you have not liked this video, I would love it if you can hit that like button. But also, more importantly, if you could share this video with someone, that would be amazing. I am really trying to grow this channel. Right now, we're a little bit over 7,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But my goal really is to get to 10,000 subscribers and to really continue to build this as the #1 destination when it comes to women's basketball content. So I would love it if you could share this video with other people. Also, if you can give me suggestions. If you have suggestions of stuff that you want me to cover, if you have critiques of stuff that you don't like that I said, or like whatever. I am a huge fan of constructive criticism. So if you all have suggestions for me, that would be amazing. Let me know those in the comments below. As always, I truly do appreciate every single person who has watched this video. Every person who has watched any of my videos. This isn't something that I take lightly. I really appreciate folks rocking with me and supporting me and cheering me on and whatnot. And also, giving me feedback as well. I really do appreciate that. Guys, that's another episode of Women's Basketball Weekly in the books. I'll be back next week with a full episode, as well as making sure to talk about some history and some overseas talk as well. You guys rock. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And until next time, guys. Bye.